Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books, and I finished another one. This week's book is The Couple by Helly, Acton, and that is the front cover. I was really intrigued by the concept of this book and I got really excited about it, and it was a good book. It didn't quite go where I thought it was going to go based on the subject matter, but I did enjoy it. And I'm just going to get in and read the blurb, and then I can go a little bit more into what the concept is and why I was that excited about it. If society's views on relationships were different and the norm was to be single, would you risk everything for love? Millie is a perfectionist. She's happy, she's successful, and with a great support network of friends and family and a very grumpy cat around her, she's never lonely. She has her dream job at a big tech firm and is on track to become the company's youngest ever innovation director. The last thing she needs is a romance messing up her perfectly organised world. Besides, normal people just don't have romantic relationships. Everyone knows that being in a couple is a bit, well, odd. Sure, everybody has that one coupled up friend who messes up the numbers at dinner parties, but it's a bit eccentric. You know, like having a pet snake or living off the grid. Why rely on another person for your own happiness? Why risk the humiliation of unrequited love or the agony of a breakup when you can do everything yourself? No, Millie is perfectly happy with her conventional single life. So when Millie lands a new project at work, launching a pill that stops you falling in love, it seems like the opportunity of a lifetime. That is, until she starts working with Ben. He's charming and funny, and Millie feels an instant connection with him. Is this the spark that science and society are trying to suppress? Will Millie sacrifice everything she believes in for love? What do you think of that? It's 400 pages long in fiction, and the genres are comedy, contemporary fiction, fantasy fiction, romance and contemporary, and its target audience is adults. Sometimes when I see the target audience I just think, I think it's a bit more broad than that. I think teenagers would enjoy this book. I think Helly Acton has got a very interesting brain in kind of looking just outside the box when it comes to her books. I mean, I've read The Shelf by her before, and that was such a cool concept. The idea of going onto a television show to be broken up with and having to prove yourself as worthy of a relationship. Yeah, I read this book in, I think it was about a week, because I was reading it like at work on my lunch break, because I've now got BorrowBox on my phone, so I was reading it on there on my phone, being fairly antisocial because I was just so into it. But yeah, it was about a week that it took me to read it, and the concept of it and the idea of singles being normal and couples being frowned upon, I just found it really, really interesting. Especially as somebody who has been single for quite a long time and has no, when you use that word, urges to be in a relationship or start a family. I'm 32 years old, and I just say that my biological clock hasn't started ticking. Like, I've got my niece. I love my niece with all of my heart, but it doesn't make me broody. It doesn't make me want one of my own. I love my niece with all my heart, and I love being able to give her back to her mum and dad. But yeah, I personally just don't need a relationship. You know, and I think a lot of people look at me and just think, well, why has she been single for so long? Is there something wrong with her? And, you know, why doesn't she want kids when she's in her 30s? You know, that clock is ticking. And it's just like, why is it so weird to other people that I'm happy by myself? And this book completely turned that whole thing on its head, because it's looking at people in relationships and going, oh, it's okay, you'll hate each other soon, you know, you can get back to like focusing on your career and your life, you don't need to share everything with somebody else, you know, you can go out for dinner by yourself and not have to worry about what that person wants to eat that night. You don't have to worry about like money and how to share things with other people, you know, you'll be on your own soon and it'll all be good. And the idea of that is just hilarious to me, because when I think of the conversations I've had with people, and they're just saying, oh, so you're ready to settle down, you know, when are you going to get married and all this sort of stuff. And it's just like, I don't need to. I'm at a point when I still can't quite look after myself. You know, I'm living at home, I'm saving up, I was in a job that I wasn't happy in for quite a while, and I wasn't earning the money to be able to live by myself, and I kind of got stuck for a while. And then lockdown happened, and I realised I needed to concentrate on me for a bit. And the fact that people were there going, you know, when are you going to settle down, when are you going to get your own place, when are you going to do all this? And it's just like, this book really does kind of make you think about things from the other point of view, and that's what intrigued me the most. Even though it is in the tagline, it's in the blurb, I mean, there is a message in there, but I was just hoping the message was going to be a little bit more? Yeah, just more. Because it definitely is trying to kind of show a bit of the ridiculousness of those kind of conversations, especially when you're looking at it through this point of view, when you're looking at couples and going, oh, it's okay, you know, I'm sure you'll hate each other soon. And seeing how couples are targeted in this world. Yeah, it's just really interesting to see how it's been thought out. To be honest, I could see bits of myself in Millie. It says she's a perfectionist. I was once accused of being a perfectionist. I was like, hi, I'm not. And because I felt like it was a bad thing. And now that I'm older and I look back on that, I just think, actually, there's nothing wrong with being a perfectionist and wanting to give my all into something that I am doing. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it says she's happy and successful. She's got a great support network. She's got a cat. She doesn't feel lonely. She just, like me in real life, she doesn't feel the need for a romantic relationship. And that does all change when somebody at work starts, and she has that instant connection with Ben, who comes in, and at first she's not really sure what's happening. She just realises that she gets along with this guy really, really well, and then she starts to realise she's got a bit of a crush on him, but she was just like, oh, it's just a crush, it'll pass. Like, she doesn't want to act on those feelings at all, because she's just like, I'm at a point where I'm about to turn 30. Like, her dream job is just like, it's right in front of her. And so she's just like, yeah, I don't need any distraction. My dream job is right in front of me. This crush will pass, and then I can concentrate on what I need to do to get where I need to be. The concept is so cool to say that. And seeing how Millie goes through the storyline and trying to work out what it is that she has with Ben, understanding everything, because she's got a friend who's in a relationship and she thinks it's a bit weird, but at the same time she's just like, she's my friend. It doesn't change anything about her. And whereas I think her relationship is a bit bizarre, it doesn't change our friendship. It's interesting to talk about this one. I actually finished this book 2 days ago. I was planning on doing this yesterday at one point, and then I just realised there wasn't time. So I feel like I've let this book settle a little bit. Because I'll admit, Carrie Hope Fletcher, the actress, YouTuber extraordinaire, book writer, I heard about this book on one of her YouTube videos where she was talking about books that she was about to read, I think it was. And as soon as she explained the concept, it was just like, I like the idea of that book. There's even a quote from Carrie Hope Fletcher on the front that just says, genius, funny and thought-provoking. And I definitely agree about the thought-provoking bit. It is hilarious. There's so many laugh-out-loud moments in this book. But the thought-provoking just really spoke to me. That sounds really cheesy. But I think it's just because of reading it as somebody who hasn't had a relationship in a very, very long time. I just thought it was really interesting to read from that point of view, and I do wonder how people in couples have reacted to this book. Like, do they now understand how ridiculous it sounds when they have those conversations with single people saying, you know, are you ready to settle down yet? Oh, you know, we should set you up with somebody. That's the reason it spoke to me so much, just because of my own personal experience with those kind of conversations. Especially when, after my niece was born, and everyone was just like, oh, you know, are you starting to get a bit broody? Are you starting to think about having babies and stuff? And it's just like, no. Why is there this assumption that as soon as a baby is born, that everybody's going to go into baby making mode? It's just, not everybody has that instinct. I can't imagine myself pregnant. This has turned into a kind of like a learning about my personal feelings about relationships and babies and that kind of thing. And obviously I don't think there's anything wrong with people who want to be in a couple, because like, obviously I understand that once you're in love with somebody you want to share your life with them. I just haven't had that. But yeah, just seeing how Millie kind of reacts to everything that's happening around her. And when you look at the project that's happening at work, where they're launching a pill that stops you falling in love, This is where everything goes into murky ground a bit, because you've got Millie and Ben working together, and then you've got another girl in the office who doesn't really get along with Millie, and you see Millie and her co-worker fighting for the Chief Creative Officer role. This is the job that's like right under Millie's nose, and she's just like, I've worked my entire life to get to this moment, and now I'm essentially in a race against my co-worker to get this job. When you're looking at the conception of the pill, oxytocin is what it's called, and it's supposed to stop romantic feelings. So it doesn't take away like platonic love, where like love for family, love for friends, just that love, that falling in love sensation, and it's supposed to stop that. And they start looking at the ethics of how to advertise that pill. Millie and Ben actually go to Wales, which is where Ben was born, and they start speaking to different people about what this pill would do for them. So you've got a woman who's been in a very long relationship, they've broken up, and she can't let go. She's just like, this pill will help me let go and move on, because at the moment I am wallowing in self-pity and I can't stop thinking about him. I need this pill so I can move on. And that's when they're just like, yes, this pill will help someone like her who has had their heart broken and needs something to help them move on from that relationship. They speak into teenagers who have fallen in love. It's starting to affect their work at school, and they're looking at kind of the ethics of that. It's just like, is it right to advertise this pill to a teenager while they're still growing up and they're still developing? And they realise that, especially with the kid that they talk to, that it's a lot of the parents living vicariously through the child. And you're just like, yeah, this doesn't seem right to advertise this to teenagers. When you're looking at just the ethics of it all and trying to work out who will benefit from this pill and who it just, through the conversations that they have with the people who potentially could be offered this pill. When you look at that, and then you look at what Millie's co-worker does, the ethics on her side, and you realise that even though Millie goes through saying, you know, this is what I want to do, she has slight judgment for people in couples, but at the same time, she learns a lot through working on the project with Ben. Ben comes from a two-parent household, which is very unusual in this world. And he admits that he was bullied growing up, saying that it was so unusual because in this world, most people are single parents, so you get donors, you know, it's not relationships. And he's come out of quite a long-term relationship after travelling the world, gets into an argument with his girlfriend and about whether he wants to come home. She stays in Australia, he comes home to the UK. And so the conversations that Ben and Millie have regarding relationships, it's that proof that you just need to kind of get on with what you're doing and try not to judge other people. As Millie starts to realise what's happening with Ben, as she realised that this is going more than just a friendship and that she's got a crush on him, and that other people are starting to notice that Ben might have a crush on her, she's trying to understand those feelings and if she wants to act on them or not, because she doesn't particularly want a relationship because of where she is at in her career. But at the same time, she's just like, will these feelings pass? Do I want to take this pill because I feel like that these feelings are getting in the way of where my head is supposed to be? And when you think of it like that, of people going, oh, I don't need a relationship because of my career, which is kind of where I am in my own life, where it's just like, I'm at a point where I'm still kind of finding my feet a bit. I'm incredibly happy where I'm working, but I'm still kind of establishing some things. I always say, if something happens, that's absolutely fine. I'm not actively looking, but if I did meet somebody and there were feelings, like, I wouldn't just go, oh, I'm just not going to be interested because I've got something else going on. It's just like, I'm not actively rejecting anything. It just hasn't happened. The conversations that I feel like this book could spark are very, very interesting to think about. And I hope it does get people to think about how they judge other people. The way people are judged in this book is very interesting, especially when it comes to Millie's co-worker, and when you realise what's happening there. and some of the accusations that are thrown around, and you realise that there's a relationship that could have been but never was. And yeah, it was just so interesting. As you can tell, I did enjoy this book, even though it didn't quite go where I thought it was going to go, and I thought that maybe there would be a bit more of a punch to the message, but I still think there's a really good message in there. But yeah, The Couple by Helly Acton. Again, I feel like I haven't said that much about it, but I think it's because obviously I don't want to spoil anything. The Couple by Helly Acton. Just brilliant book. It's almost like an anti-rom-com in a way. It's a rom-com, but it's also an anti-rom-com. So if you like your romance books, if you like stuff that's kind of slightly dystopian in a way, because it does feel dystopian because it's set in like a world where something doesn't exist, or where it's like turned on its head. Yeah, it's got that kind of fantasy element to it. It's got a bit of a sci-fi type feel to it as well when you bring in the pill. There's so much in there. But yeah, the chapters, they weren't too long, they weren't too short, they were just like the perfect quality to really keep you going. I wouldn't say that I was tempted to keep going at the end of every single chapter, otherwise I probably would have done it in one night. There are some books where as soon as I get to the end of a chapter, it's just like, oh, I just need to carry on, I just need to do one more because I need to find out what happens. You don't have that at the end of every single chapter, but there was enough there to keep you kind of in that world and wanting to know what happens next without being too drawn in. Does that make sense? That's that book. I've got some other books on here which should be available to me soon. When's the next one available? That's December, November, October. So it looks like the next book that's available to me on here is Both of You by Adele Parks. I've read a couple of Adele Parks books before and I do love her thrillers. That's called Both of You. So that'll be the next one I'll be reading on Barrow Box. I'm reading The Doorstep Girls by Val Wood at the moment. I've recently started it and I'm about 72 pages in. This one is 537 pages, so I've got a way to go. It seems like quite a sweet book, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's the only book I'm reading at the moment. That's really rare for me to be only reading one book. But there are some books on Kindle which my dad has sent me, which are witchy books, which I need to start. So I think that's where I'm going to go next. It's The Whitehaven Witches by TJ Green. So thank you so much for watching. I read these books on Barrow Box, which is connected to my library. Not sponsored at all in the slightest. It's just the app that I use. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. What did I just say? Don't forget to subscribe if you're not ready. What? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Mwah! Stay safe, everybody. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day.